What's up, YouTube? This is the Cutlass Board Games channel. I have celebrity guest games designer,
Hardly a celebrity.
He doesn't believe he's a celebrity. And we just finished day one of the Game Expo, Melbourne. That is the name of the expo.
Yeah.
The Game Expo. TGX, for those of us that don't have a whole minute. And, well, let's run down how the day went. So we had a little bit of a trek to get in there on the train, starting out. Then we...
Hang on. The downside of being at an expo for like 8 or 9 hours is that this dog has been very anxious. So I'm going to give him some cuddles.
Okay. It's a prop at this point.
Oh my God. He's more than...
So yesterday we did bump in. It was very fast. We don't have a big space. It's like a single table. So all I did was get my passes and set up the banner. That was kind of it. It wasn't really much of a day zero.
Though interesting to note, passes only appear in your junk emails.
The invoice too. I had the same problem with the invoice initially.
Which is interesting. So if you are an exhibitor and you are considering this convention in the future, double check your junk emails.
Well, it wasn't even junk. I had to search the sender. I couldn't find it in my junk because it might have just been like long enough ago that it's been piled on by other junk. Anyway, so that was a problem. I show up and I go, "Hey, I'm the dude. I'm here for the passes," and they're like, "Fuck, what?" Yeah. So that was awkward.
How dare they not know your fame?
I know. Cringe, am I right? So I had to awkwardly search my Outlook on the phone. But we worked that out, and then we go in. We're going today. I've already got my banner set up, and we kind of set up the box and stuff like that. And I work with Quest Suppliers through Ludius Games. Ludius Games is like one of their side projects where they publish Australian games. And Murders at Tealwoods Manor, the game that I'm showing off at the convention, is something I am co-publishing with them. So kind of the first thing I do, like I want to check in with them, see how they're going. Terry, who was there today, and we go in. I don't know, it's kind of like a check-in, a catch-up, see where they're at, because they had a banner of my game set up in their thing, kind of go over the battle plan. Then we come back to our little table. We kind of went through the sales pitch flow, which was, so I had a sell sheet, so like when you're explaining the game to the average person walking around, kind of like run through the sell sheet, because it kind of had like a flow chart of explaining the game on it. Then try and get people in for a demo, and then at the point where you've explained the game to somebody and like you've like explained it through the sell sheet, or they've come and played a demo, or they're gonna like walk away and come back, is like when you give them the flyer. And then the flyer's got all the call to action on it. It's got like the Twitter links, it's got the website links, all that kind of stuff on it. So we kind of went over that. That was something that I built and graphic designed in advance, because I'm not great at doing these things unless if I plan it in advance. I kind of know my spiel or whatever. And then from pretty much then on, it was a mix of meeting our booth mates. Some media people came along. You met Jacko. I did. I came in at the end of that.
That was really interesting.
So how did they... this is me finding out for the first time. How did that start? Because I turned around and they were already sitting at the table filming you explaining the game.
So just to give you guys some appreciation of the context, I'm sitting down at this table, of which we only have one table, and all the people next to us have two. So we look pretty small time.
Well, yeah, so they all started out with two tables, except for Fragged Empire that was next to us that did have one, and then turned theirs sideways and got another table from somewhere, put next to it, and had 6 chairs around it.
Yeah.
But we didn't have enough people to have a whole second table on it, so I don't really care.
True.
That's fine.
True.
But it was odd.
We
also had like a kilometer of empty space on every side of us.
Yeah.
So there is space for other indie people to come and be at TGX. There obviously wasn't enough reach out, or people didn't know about it enough in time to come and get involved. Or people would it was too last minute or whatever.
It seems like it's still a growing con.
What's the first one, I think?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it before.
I've seen it small. I've seen the same thing, but smaller. Maybe it was related to a university. I'm not sure. I need to check my sources.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it before.
But, so how...
Yeah, how did you get onto that?
So I am just standing there, trying to look as attractive as possible with my I've got a succulents shirt here, which looks very loud. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at whoever's coming by to try and grab people's attention, and he's like, "You, I'm gonna say hi to you." And then it's this dude with this giant chain and this.
He's dressed like a character, like a caricature of Dr. Disrespect almost.
Yeah.
Like he had the fake blonde mullet kind of a thing,
and a headband,
the sweatband, and the big gold chain,
and sunglasses.
Like a high-vis shirt or something. A high-vis singlet or something.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
It felt like a character costume.
And the best thing is, halfway through the game and through the explanation, he was cracking jokes, which made it very enjoyable. So he comes down. I think he's in for like a 5-minute explanation of a board game. Not really fully understanding what he's in for, but tries to read the name about 5 times and messes it up every time.
That was great. That was funny.
That was, And and from there, I just went into presentation mode and was like, this is the game. This is what it's about. This is how it's fun, and this is how you play. Which was good fun.
Yeah. Once you've learned the pitch, once you've learned the flow of how you explain it to someone, it gets really easy to explain. Like Castles of Kalira is a beautifully illustrated medieval fantasy castle building micro game.
Yeah.
I've said that more than once in my life.
It's way too many words for how simple it is.
For one sentence, but if you, I said it really fast, but like if you say it slowly, you kind of go through and enunciate the important parts. Then the person listening goes, okay, I've got a very basic grasp of what this is, and one of those keywords caught my attention. Tell me more, or whatever. And this is kind of the same. With Murders at Tealwoods Manor, you go, it's a reverse murder mystery, and you just stop there because they've already asking you follow-up questions of what is that?
Which is actually really good, because then you can go into explaining it's a murder mystery in reverse, so we know who the killer is. We don't know who's going to die.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. So that's something, I feel that actually like worked really well to our advantage, because on the pull-up banner that I had printed, it has right at eye line, or my eye line, I'm a huge person, at my eye line, if you already know who the murderer is, can you solve this reverse murder mystery? I think that's what it says. And so people look at that and go, what does this mean? Which is really helpful, because when you're standing around looking for people that might want to come and demo the game, you go, that's a person standing around looking confused. Hello, allow me to explain to you what a reverse murder mystery is.
Yeah. And it was really good, like, because we were sort of at the edge of a bunch of booths with that, like, huge, massive space, I could stand in front of our area and sort of just wave the postery thing, cell sheet around, and eventually, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, there'd be someone looking around wondering where they're going, or just wanting some time to kill because they're going to meet some people in this area. And that was when I went into the, hi, do you like murder mystery games? Would you be interested in playing a reverse murder mystery game? And we went pretty okay.
We also had the spot where we were and where I set up the banner, you could see from the entrance. You could like, it was probably the most visible thing, because near the entrance was like a couple of the side of booths, which like wasn't eyeline drawing from the door, but like as you narrow in past those things, there's this giant banner with a dude in a bright pink suit in the middle of it, and like that was really eye-catching. So I don't think there's an attendee that didn't see our spot. And the fact that we didn't meet every single person that came today made me think that maybe the demographic was much more video game heavy than board game heavy.
I would agree.
Because the showing of what they had there, it's similar to PAX, was way weighted towards video games.
The other thing to note is that the logo for this convention is a controller that looks like a smiley face.
Oh, it's like a VR headset type thing.
No, it's totally a controller. It's got the
a controller with a body,
like the plus thing on one side and the buttons on the other.
Yeah. But the person is wearing it like a VR headset.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Maybe we're both
It's
right.
a combination of the things.
Yeah, we're both right.
But yeah, it's definitely digital focused. They had two different fighting game areas. Well, sorry, they had Smash Brothers and they had fighting game areas, and they had bring your own console. They had a PC setup area.
They had a retro area, which is really close to us.
That was next to us, and that was there was a couple games I did actually want to go and play, like Point Blank and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Right next to us, though, we had a few other tabletop, which was good. Like, there's a small section of tabletop or like tabletop related stuff. So we had the
TTRPG next to us, and then tabletop on the other side of them.
Yeah, which was good.
With Kitsunedo.
Yeah.
It was really the only other indie board game being shown.
But it was
Which
actually...
I didn't get to play.
Yeah.
You did get to play.
I did.
What did you think of Kitsunedo?
I thought it was really well designed. I think my favorite thing about it is the artwork is incredibly beautiful and the game showcases the art exceptionally well. But from a game design perspective, it also has a like really limited number of cards in terms of different cards. So there's like sun, moon, leaf, sake as the main cards.
Okay.
And then there's also a card, there's like lantern cards and you can get 4 different kinds. And then you have your character card. And that's basically it in terms of the different kinds of cards. But what's cool in terms of the mechanics is it works a lot like Coup. You have these like mystery rolls that based on the lanterns, which give you certain powers. Yeah, so cute. He's like falling asleep now. Anyway, the lanterns give you different different abilities depending on what lantern you have. And they affect whether or not you can attack someone or what cards you get, or whether or not you can steal from someone. And because no one knows what you've got, you can claim that you've got things that you don't have. So in that sense, it's exactly like Coup, but it doesn't have the like buying mechanic.
Yeah, the currency system in Coup is awful in my opinion.
And the theme of it is just like so well intermingled with the artwork. So it's a really beautiful game to play. It's a well-designed game. There was no spot where I thought anything was super broken. And it's also really quick. When you attack, you lose a life, and you have 2 lives. So it ends quite quickly.
Okay.
But you can play it over again with different characters or just different strategies.
Even. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the lantern actually changes. Anyway.
Interesting.
I have lots of praise for Kitsunedo, so definitely check it out. Also, if you're in Melbourne and you like Kitsunedo, or if you haven't heard of Kitsunedo, the first thing you should do is go to ukiyo.com.au.
Ukiyo?
Ukiyo.
Okay, I was going to say.
Ukiyo or Uki? Anyway, it's the guys who designed it originally designed an interactive escape room.
Oh yeah, he showed me
with
pictures.
AI.
Yeah, he showed me pictures on his phone.
And it's really, really clever. So go to Ukiyo, the website, and just check out the escape room first, so you understand where they come from. The whole like card game was just a pandemic project. So excellent people to check out and really, really unique escape room experience. I know.
Have you done the escape room?
Yeah. It's. I know that's a peripheral thing to games and board games, but I feel like we should encourage escape rooms.
As a game designer, escape rooms are still in the realm. You are curating an experience for a customer, same as you do for a board game. You're procedurally identifying the steps that they must take to get from the setup state to the end state. So it's definitely in line. I think as a game designer, looking at these extra traditional media, like escape rooms is a good one, mega games is another good one, where you're able to look at a experience beyond, like, you know, the 3 people or whatever you can get at a table sometimes, the location, the materials used or whatever, I think is interesting, even if it's just an exercise in intrigue. Like a lot of stuff that I design is so I can take an idea to concept to test, so I can learn how something works in practice beyond the idea. Like I brought Detonator with me. That's one that I did a video on that recently. I brought it along to Tabletop Tuesday and we played it, and stuff that I didn't think was going to be really clunky was nearly game breaking. And like in the first turn, people were like, I don't understand how this thing is going to interact with each other. And like there's like two things that I had no idea how it interacts with each other. So it's like you can imagine when you're building something that's outside of what your space is, it will teach you things that you can then, if like even if that product isn't the thing that becomes a successful whatever, it's something that grows your palette, so to say, so you're able to paint more broadly when you do come back and do make a more narrow experience. So I am really curious about that kind of stuff. I designed a Wheel of Fortune type game that was supposed to be like that, like you would open a space and people would come and play the game. But obviously I've invested my money in other things.
Yeah, fair enough.
But you know, as an idea exercise, it's not a bad idea to kind of look at those things. But we've strayed a little bit beyond TGX.
Yeah.
Because, well, for example, I met those people for the first time. Beth, who I touched base with beforehand in the TGDA group, which is kind of our main point of contact for everyone these days. And that was cool. The people at Fragged who were next to us, you've met before?
I have seen their game before.
Seen their game before.
I've met them at Devcon, which is for those of you who don't know, it's a like game design, usually tabletop game design convention that's held on the night before PAX opens, so usually Thursday night, because everyone flies in early to prepare for PAX and they don't get much time to chat with other game designers, so it's the perfect time and place. It's
a really good evening of networking. Last year, Devcon was better than PAX.
I agree. Yeah. If you are a game designer and you are interested in the industry and just chatting to people or even getting feedback, Devcon is the best money you can spend.
It's really good.
It's actually probably more worth your time. Yeah.
It's not even that expensive.
It's super cheap.
But yeah, it's really good. I actually got a lot out of Devcon. The one standout moment for me was when they're talking about, there was the section where they're talking about financial stuff, and they're like, how many people are like doing this for a living, like this is their main source of income or their day job or whatever. And I was like 3 people.
Yeah.
One of which receives a pension. And I like, part of my income is government grant, as well, and like Patreon and all this other kind of stuff. So it's like really interesting to see how of the 70 attendees, 60 plus of them are hobby designers that are probably trying to break into that.
And what's interesting is that even some people who say that board games are their day job, some of them have other side gigs that generate income. Yeah. For example, our friend Steve D, fantastic.
He's a dog walker.
Yeah, he's not just a dog walker, he's a dog trainer.
He's got a lot of stuff going. He's got the score going on right now, which is doing very well. It's getting very close to funded.
If you don't know about the score, please check out the score.
It's pretty good.
You can go to tinstargames.com.au and it's like an 18-minute write an action movie in which you are trying to steal stuff. It's like, it's a heist action movie, but you can write the whole thing in 18 minutes. Especially if you are an entrepreneurial writer, this stuff is like gold.
It's really good.
Yeah.
But without getting too much into that, Steve and I actually did an interview. It is on this channel. You can find it on there. And in that interview, I talk about how John is actually the person that ran my first game for me. So I did a bit of a recap. I went through how you ran us through the whole thing and how it was a really good fun experience, which is kind of good. So if you are interested in the score, you can actually go and check that out. I'll probably put a link to that in the description. That's like literally got my direct thoughts on it. But TGX doesn't have an equivalent of Devcon. It doesn't have really any networking, encouraging aspect to it beyond the fact that I just went and talked to the people that were in my eye line. And especially because there's not very many board game people. The artist alley was huge, actually.
Yeah, that's definitely a highlight.
I went through one part of it and I was like, oh, that must be it. Because I've been to Supernova before and they normally have like 12 people. And then I like turn around a corner, I'm like, oh, and I turn around a corner, I'm like, oh God. And there's still more after that. And I was like, okay, shit. Like, this was actually a huge section was Artist Alley, which is really cool. And they had like the big cosplay section as well. So So I feel like it's trying to bite into what PAX is doing, but it hasn't got the right size yet, and it hasn't had enough indie people showing off what it's doing, because it's got the approach more correct. PAX is a retail convention. It is filled with retailers selling you things. And as game designers, or like more me specifically, my complaint is, why would I go there when there's good games on the street that I live? I would want to go to something like that, especially if I'm flying interstate. I would want to go to something like that to see new and upcoming things that are coming out. And that's always been something that's really exciting for me, because I want to feel that exclusive thing of, oh wow, this is a brand new thing. If I hadn't come here, I wouldn't have seen it. And I'm now the dude showing that stuff. And there's me on my little island surrounded by 80 good games, 80 other retailers. PAX has got like 6 different retailers. And you're just like, why would you go if that little island of brand new things didn't exist? And yet it's still small. I mean, PAX was better this year because they had the big road and they had the big lights and everything, and it showed attention to it. But it just, I don't know what is not cost effective. People are too scared to invest in themselves to come and do it, or there's like the communication system with PAX was really hard, so many people hit that roadblock and don't make it across. Getting into TGX was really easy actually, and cheap too, because they cut the price on me because I was having trouble getting through with it. But getting onto PAX, I'm like, this is what I need you to tell me things, and they didn't. None of my details was on the website until 3 days before, and like all this other kind of shit that I made a video about a while ago, where I just kind of complained about all the things that made it really stressful for no reason. Getting onto TGX, I was like messaging the first person. They're like, okay, here's all the things, I will send you through this, and then they didn't reply to me for 5 days, and I had like sent follow-up emails and stuff like that. No reply. I reach out to TQS for like, hey, do you guys have a point of contact? And they're like, yeah, this guy. I emailed the second guy. And I'm like, hey, this is what I'm going through. Can you help me out? And I still like need to sort out all these things. And he's like, oh, done, sorted right now. It's like 11 p.m. He's like, here it is right now. And done, all fine. And he's like, sorry about all the hassle. I'll cut some of the price of it for you. And I was like, okay. I didn't need that. I just wanted it done, so I'm not stressing about it. But that's great too, you know, because it was already pretty cheap.
And the best thing about it is that most of the information comes through in this one like PDF pack.
Yeah, that was good too.
So you can like look at it all, plan your time, start your comms, and it's all in one place. So you don't have to wait on like multiple emails.
Well, I got a map in advance.
Yeah.
I didn't know my booth number until I showed up to PAX on day one. So it's like little things like that, little like actually helpful communications was really good. But if they can get, I don't know, a community manager for just board games, and they can grow their board game stuff, maybe the next TGX will actually be really good. Maybe a lot of the other designers in the TGDA should actually be brave enough to come out next time. There's a lot of people, people were posting, hey, who's going to do it? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And there's a lot of people that were like, no. Or I've seen a few people that are just around as civilians to get a vibe for it, which is also a totally valid way to figure out if it's worthwhile for you. Because you might come and have a look at it and you go, that's nothing, that's small. It's just Keith here, the one table. But there's a lot of space. Like we could add 4 more people in that space in front of us easily.
True.
Probably more.
And I think it'd be good to see more Australian designers get onto the smaller conventions, because one of the big issues about Australian designers is we're not very, very good at networking, and we're not very good at representing ourselves as an industry. And while the TGDA may not be great at it, they're one of our best resources. And while I say they may not be great, they're the best thing we have, actually. Let's be honest.
That's it, right? So a lot of the problems we have, it's like, we do this shit, or we have this problem, and it's like, because like the only option we have is the one option.
Yeah.
Like, I complain that PAX is the one convention that we have in the country, and it's not great. And there is a lot of other ones, but they're just nowhere near the same scale. And nothing that's like, I mean, CanCon is probably the closest that I would want, right? And it's still not really the same scale.
CanCon's pretty good.
It's grown a lot.
It's just...
I haven't.
Well, I went before the pandemic. It was good for showcasing the hobby, but not necessarily good for showcasing the industry. I think that's a really important like thing of difference, is that there is a board game industry in Australia, but it's really like hidden because we're not good at communicating with each other. And if Australian designers were better at knowing what everyone else was doing and promoting each other, maybe we'd have a better chance overseas. And I think also it's really hard for people overseas to come to Australia and see the cool stuff that's going on here. Which is why we were kind of relying on people going out to the other big conventions overseas to represent us. But a lot of people do that, but it's extremely costly. It's like,
or like just exporting product or whatever.
Yeah, and so we don't get a good name for ourselves, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it is true, right? So I'm meeting designers that have never heard of the TGDA. And the TGDA is the biggest point of call that we have for anyone in the industry. If you're an Australian game designer, you're in the group whether you like the group or not, really.
Speaking of which, for those of you who might be designers and don't know what the TGDA is, the Tabletop Games Designers Australia group. Go check it out on Facebook.
Yeah, it's just us. We are all Tabletop Game Designers of Australia.
Well, not just you and me. There's a whole bunch of other very talented, fantastic people there.
No, I mean like the name of the industry.
Yeah,
like that is us. That is where all we are supposed to be. And to be bumping into people that have like never heard of it before is kind of a testament to we've not really networked well enough. Or like the biggest video game conference in the world is world renowned by not just industry people but consumers.
Yeah.
Right?
Because they want to go there and see the latest
How
and
many
greatest.
non-hobby board gamers have heard of Essen?
That's a good point. Maybe we should just call it Essen 3 and see what happens.
Yeah, the E in E3 is Essen. Yeah.
To be fair though, Essen is not a English-speaking place, and we are an English-speaking audience. So perhaps that it might be different in Europe. Maybe,
but even Americans recognize it as the convention, like the one big one.
Yeah, but I suppose
which is crazy because according to Kickstarter statistics, America is 70% of the market. So for America to recognize this tiny country town, I don't know, I've never been to Essen. I assume it's a tiny country town. That's how I picture Europe.
Hang on.
So
Kickstarter's an American company, right? So its data is probably screwed. Skewed, not screwed.
Well,
skewed.
It is also the industry leader for crowdfunding.
True.
By a great margin. Even though GameFound is gaining rapidly, from what I understand, it's still the big boy in the sandbox.
That's true. Anyway, I think to sort of wrap this up, it was actually lots of fun.
It was actually really good.
The thing I really liked about this convention is that the people who go there are a lot more relaxed. Like, it doesn't feel stressful like PAX does, not to the same extent. People go there, it's a lot more chill. People are a lot more interested in just sort of like hanging out.
Do you think it's an overload thing?
Maybe.
You go to PAX and you don't know what's there. You need to go and explore anything for fear of missing something in particular. You go to TGX, you've seen not only the list of every single thing on the map, as well as the schedule for everything on the map. Like, I looked at the schedule and I was like, oh, this is some fighting games I like. I'm a big Guilty Gear fan. Some fighting games I might want to watch. There's some cosplay stuff I might want to look at. Some stores that are, the Quest Supplies always has some great shit, I've heard. I've never seen myself, surely.
Not to mention all the other fantastic games designers that they stock from Australia.
I know.
Like
Fragged Empire, who was next to us on anything,
and
as
Steve D.
a bunch of Steve D's games.
And
Kingmaker from Alan, who I've also name dropped in a few videos, who kicks my ass about design stuff.
Great guy.
Big fan.
He's like,
yeah.
He's like your alter ego. He's all like, if it needs it, add it. And you're like, if it needs it, don't add it. Yeah, figure out how to make it smaller. It's great.
It's actually very funny.
I feel like I've got you on one end,
one
shoulder, Alan on the other.
Which is funny because I know making a big game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that is funny.
I've grown.
Character development. But yeah, I think it's a good convention to go to if you're a consumer. if you want a small market.
I think it's more like a hangout convention.
Yeah.
Then I have to go and spend all my money and get all the cool new things.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit
feels really retail-y to me.
There's still a little bit of like you can buy things. I definitely felt tempted to buy things, but
I was tempted to get merch to wear to PAX.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, look, guys, unless you fucking level up your game when it comes to communicating with people, I'm just going to become a TGX homeboy at this rate.
Yeah.
So...
Anyway, so there's lots of benefits to going. Do you think you managed to break even on day one on what you spent?
Probably not.
Hmm.
The problem with the comparison of running demos for Murders at Tealwoods Manor versus everything else I've run demos for at convention is that Murders at Tealwoods Manor is like double the game time, which means that you kind of have more time to really sell a comprehensive experience to someone, especially if it is more elaborate or you can show more depth of play or whatever. Whereas other stuff like Spaceship Readout, for example, is about 20 minutes. And sometimes you'll have a quicker game because something will happen. And then you go, do you guys want to play again or whatever? Or if they're just like not really doing anything, it's not like not super busy, or you maybe play a couple games and they get to like really play through and get it. And it's a bit different, especially because there's like a lot of front-loaded rules explaining in Murders at Tealwoods Manor. Because there's a lot of time there's transferable skills in board games that makes it easy to pick up for the next person. Cast of Kalira has that. Spaceship Readout has that. Murders at Tealwoods Manor does not have that because it is a very unique game.
And it's special. It's just why it's great, and you should totally keep track of it.
It's worth going in and learning the different intricacies of it. I'm like really waiting for a group of people to have played it enough times with me where I can like really pull out the 9th level elite strategies that I've been cooking up over all this time. To like really see like how hard flexing can be on people.
And the other thing to mention is that whilst I would love to have tried to do that, and I tried to get good at the game today, you can't do that at a convention completely because
it's too hard to pay really close attention.
And then if you do pay really close attention and thump your players, they feel a bit awkward about it.
Sometimes I feel like in this. Because sometimes you can be like, oh, that was really unlucky, or I got really lucky, or whatever. Especially with like the mask. We had a game, there was a guy playing, he was behind the entire time, but then picked up 2 points in a massacre at the very end.
Because I massacred the people all at the end because I thought it would be fun. I was like, yeah, let's just give it a go. Let's see what happens. And of course, it gives our player the victory. So bad strategy for me. Excellent strategy for your game.
For the game. Yeah. So like sometimes there's stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there is also like you're never truly certain about what's going on. Hence the mystery, I guess. But I think a lot of times it was pretty good. We didn't really have people that came and were like, "What the fuck? This is too hard." Or
except there was 2 people at the beginning.
The 2 guys at the start were really struggling
to pick up sort of the mechanics of the game, but also just to understand like. At first, they wanted to play with everyone with open hands, and unfortunately, a game about deduction doesn't work if all the knowledge is there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
And then they ended up leaving because they realized that murder mystery games are not really their thing.
Which is fine.
Yeah. But the best thing about them is they were super nice about it. So if you ever do that, it's okay. We're not going to take it to heart. Just say, it's not my thing.
I did kind of have a hunch that was going to be the case when they kind of came down and first started looking at it and stuff like that. And as we were kind of explaining things to them, they, I don't know, like really exactly what it was that they were struggling to understand, because they would pick up some things and do some things and it was fine. And then like other things that they wouldn't get, and then like maybe they'd come back and something else was maybe too much, or like it was too much information for them to get at once in a setting where it is not necessarily easy to pay super close attention to something. That's my problem with the convention. When there's so much going on around you, it's really hard to listen actively to someone. So it could have been something like that, and so that was something fun. I don't know. It wasn't like someone came along and they played it and something happened and they were like, that really sucked, or like a abrasive player profile problem where they're like, this really doesn't cater to me as a player, and so now I'm having a bad time.
True.
kind of thing. Because I have had that with other games before. Especially if you play something that has take that or something that where you make choices about stuff with other people. Like Spirits of Cardimension had that with some people, where you're like, this doesn't have a lot of the problems of social reduction games, and they're like, no, but I struggled with that. Or whatever.
That being said, so you've been trying out the new mechanic called Gossip, which if you play someone in the bar. So I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the game, but in the game there's a bar. It has 5 places on it, so you can put people there 5 times, and every time you do, you take a gossip token, and you take one for a friend that you take a drink with at the bar, and you can give it to any other player. And we're testing out these mechanics today, and because you're giving a token to another player, it was really funny. One player kept pretending to give it to their friend and then giving it to someone else. And then later there was a mechanic. So when the gossip tokens run out, of which there are 20, so it takes a long time, you start stealing from other players. This poor guy who was pretending to get given these tokens throughout the game got his stolen from him. But thankfully, it didn't matter too much in terms of like winning the game. It was just like a teenage boy flexing.
Yeah, being silly with friends.
But yeah, it was being silly with friends, so it was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I felt sorry for the guy.
I think they all had fun.
Yeah.
They seemed to come away enjoying it.
True.
But yeah, I think of the demos we ran, I think it went really well overall. Obviously, it is tough to have it like come in and like quickly and like get people to come to the demo and get a lot of people to come to the demo because it is a bit longer. I wouldn't recommend running demos for games that run longer than half an hour.
Yeah.
Unless if you were like literally at a convention that was specifically catered towards really heavy hobby board gamers. Because this is a lot of people that you'll find at this are video gamers or are like only tangentially interested in board games. And they see the cool new thing and like, oh, I want to try it out.
One thing that is helpful being a board game like publisher or presenter at a video game convention is that at video game conventions, usually it's 2 players at once who are playing on video games, and then their friends are going off. And so if some of their friends are playing video games, then there's a good chance that some are actually going to come up to you and play the game, which is nice. But that means that they might leave sooner than you might want. That didn't happen today, but it can happen in the past. Or you get people who just are trying to kill time and then they're not really interested in your product. And that's probably the worst thing.
I worry about that a lot.
Yeah.
That's one that bothers me. And sometimes I get that vibe from people that they're just kind of like standing there listening to you, but they're just not really there. They're just like, yeah, sure, sounds great.
So my strategy when people are doing that is to stop talking about the game, start talking to them about how they are. Because a lot of the time there's so much stuff that's going on around them.
Ask them about the convention or
whatever. And if they just decompress, then they're like, oh, fuck, that was a really good experience. I might actually come back and see what this guy's talking about later. So, you know, be a good person.
Person is like blank. John's like, have you eaten? How are you doing today? Are you all right? And they're like, wow. Like color comes back into their face.
And I think that's especially helpful if you're trying to network there with other publishers or industry people.
I've said for a long time that at conventions, networking is better than being customer facing. And the Devcon obviously makes it like way easier for PAX. But I met a couple new people at TGX. I talked to a lot of my booth neighbors. There's a couple of video games people that I talked to. There's a couple media people that I met, which is kind of cool. So maybe that's gonna pay out. Maybe that's gonna, because that's the thing. If at perfect efficiency, maximum occupancy, all right, you running the game, 3 people playing the game, we get 3 people per 30 minutes, and there's 16 amounts of 30 minutes in the day, right? And every single one of them converts to sale, could still be less money than a media person with 1,000 followers tweeting out a photo of your game.
Provided that, you know, a percentage of those followers end up agreeing.
But like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of crazy. But that's, and to come back to what we were talking about before, you really need to actually help each other out.
Yeah.
If you are a game designer that knows a game designer and they have a Kickstarter, back it.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually get to the end mark and still have the bought a product. If you are a creator that has run Kickstarters in the past, back every campaign, cancel after it's funded close to closing, because your account sends a notification out to everyone that's followed your account, and it helps so much. You have no idea.
Yeah.
But also, you get to just own Australian games also, which is, oh, what a downside.
I know.
Like,
my goodness. The worst part is that eventually you run out of space for all these awesome games you've got.
That's my problem right now, actually.
And then you just got to find cool new people to give them to.
I actually bought a whole bunch of stuff recently. I got Quirkle, Hues and Cues, Scrabble, Land vs. Sea, and Fluttering Souls.
Oh, nice.
Land vs. Sea is GGP. Fluttering Souls is Joel, who's Perth-based, I'm pretty sure. Hues and Cues is Scott Bate. He's an American, but he's cool by me.
And next up on my list is That Sound Game.
Oh, that's also one that I want to pick up as well.
Yeah.
They didn't Kickstarter. They went straight to market.
They went straight to market, and they have been
So I haven't had a
killing
chance
it.
yet. That's what I've heard.
Yes.
So another big win for another Australian designer.
High five.
Yeah. It's gonna be you next.
No pressure, guys.
No pressure.
Yeah, I'll try.
Vote for John. Anyway, I think we should wrap it up there. We've probably waffled on off topic quite a lot. And it's been a big first day. We'll do a blog wrap up of day 2 as well. Maybe day 2 will be terrible. Cliffhanger. Make sure you check out the next episode. But that is it from us tonight. If you do like this content, I do have a whole bunch of other game designer types and devlog kind of stuff that is on the channel. I will put some buttons. It's probably going to be over my face right now, actually, because I'm on the left half of the screen. So make sure that you do go and click on that, and click on the like and subscribe button. You don't just click everything on your screen. Click refresh, click play and unpause like several times. All that stuff. It's great. Just click everything. Just really exercise that click button.
Not the mute button, though. Unless it's for a tab.
I think it still plays. It still collects plays.
It's true. It's true. Anyway.
Just click it all. Just click everything. And we'll see you at the recap of tomorrow. Probably more tired.